Here's a story. Please excuse me if I get a few details wrong. I won't get all the details wrong, but the story is like this. This must have been in the 50s or so, maybe in the early 60s. There's a wonderful rabbi, and his name is Rabbi Shlomo Kunin. Rabbi Shlomo Kunin, he really began or opened up the whole network of Chabad houses in California. In California. And he was tremendously devoted to the Rebbe, a tremendously energetic and dynamic person. This story was told before he got married. So, details of his life, I don't know, but it was before he gets married. So let's say 1960. Let's say, I don't know when he got married. Let's say it was then. So it used to be that people would go by the Rebbe, and before Passover, the day, before the evening of Passover, they would go before the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and the Rebbe had boxes and boxes of matzahs behind him, and he would give out matzahs to people. Usually, to most people, he'd give out just a piece of matzah. If a person had like a Chabad house, whatever, he would give out a couple of pieces of matzah. Some people received early; they received a week early, a couple of weeks. I remember every year in Kfar Chabad, they would come back, the delegation from Kfar Chabad, they would come back with the matzahs of the Rebbe. So Rabbi Shlomo, usually the pupils of the yeshiva in 770 in New York, they would go last. They would be among the last people to get, because they lived nearby, and etc. So Rabbi Shlomo Kunin, who, as I understand from the story, his parents lived in New York. It was like a subway ride for an hour or something like that from where the 770 was. So he went and got his matzah from the Rebbe, like 4 or 5 hours beforehand. And the Rebbe gave him the matzah, and he said, I have a special mission for you. Go to the secretaries in the secretariat, and they'll tell you what it is. So he went to the secretary, and the secretary gave him matzah, or a couple matzahs, and said, the Rebbe wants you to go to this address. Gave him an address, and give these people matzah. So he said, okay, no problem. He basically knew New York, and it required you have to take a subway to here and change subways over there. So he took the matzahs, he got on the subway, and there was some sort of problem with the subway, that there were delays and delays. And finally, the second subway, or in the middle of the second subway, anyway, so that it stopped. There was some sort of the service stopped up to here. So he said, okay, no problem, I'll take a taxi. But there were no taxis. For some reason, there was no taxis. He waited, he looked, and they called from the station, no taxis. He waited on the street, no taxis. So I said, okay, he'll walk to this place, wherever it was. And so we walked to the place. It was like an hour walk or whatever, a half an hour walk. But he was a young man full of energy, and he walked. And it seems that the whole way that he walked, he didn't see one cab, one taxi. So he finally gets, there's a huge apartment complex, until he finds the complex, he finds the number, he finds the house. He finally gets there. It's like, 2 hours or an hour and a half before Passover. So he'll give the matzahs, and then he'll go back. How is he going to get back? He's got to get back to his. But he figures, okay, maybe he'll take a cab from there. Maybe there'll be a cab back or something. Anyway, so knocks on the door, opens up the door, and a man comes to the door in a t-shirt, underpants, and the whole looks behind, and the whole house is just a total wreck. It's just a total, no, not prepared for, not Passover and not Purim, not nothing, no preparation. So he says, here lives, Mr. whatever his name is, Mr. Gross or whatever. He said, yeah, that is a. So he said, you people are Jewish? He said, yeah, we're Jewish. So he said, who are you? What can I do for you? He said, well, I'm from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And he said, oh, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, really? He said, yeah. He said, listen, do you know that in a few hours it's going to be Passover? I said, yeah, I know, but, what can we do? He said, come in. He said, the house is sort of messy. Come in. he goes in, he says, listen, a couple hours is going to be Shabbos. He notices that there's two girls there. They're blind. Blind. Oh, these are my two daughters. So he says, but you know what's going to be Passover here? And the Rebbe sent you matzah. Said, yeah, what can I do? I'm not a religious Jew. I said, okay, but you're a Jew. A Jew, you should. He said, listen, let's clean up the house. Let's clean up. No, I'll help you. Okay. You want to help clean up? His wife said, oh, that would be wonderful if you would help. So and they got to work, and they cleaned up. It didn't take them long. They cleaned up the house. It was messy, and they cleaned it up, and they swept and they mopped and everything. After a half an hour, let's say, the house was already in reasonable condition that they could make. So he put some sort of a cloth. They figured out how to do it, a tablecloth, a sheet on the table. And he said, listen, you know what? Let's make a Passover Seder. I said, Passover Seder, I don't know what to do. He said, I'll stay with you. I'll stay here with you. So he said, who are the girl, that's my girls, the two, they were born blind. So he stays there, and he makes the Passover Seder with them. Maybe he ran downstairs and he bought grape juice or something. I don't know what exactly the details were, but somehow or other he got the whole business all together. Maybe he went to the store, he bought some horseradish, and he brought them this and that. And they made the Seder night. Right? I don't know if they had anything to eat, so he made the Seder night, and he said everything that he could, whatever he bought by heart, or maybe he bought maybe they found somewhere a Haggadah of Passover. So he said it, and they sang, and they were happy, and they did the whole thing. It took them, I don't know, a half an hour. Meanwhile, his parents are waiting for him at home. What's he going to do? So he'll have to walk back home and walk there. It'll take him 2 hours. Who knows how long it'll take him. It wasn't as dangerous back then like it is now. So he finishes, and so he said, Rabbi, that was just so wonderful. We're so grateful to you, and we had kosher matzah. We ate matzah, and we ate that. And so he said, listen, I got a problem. He said, the fact is that I even wrote to the Lubavitcher Rebbe about this problem. So that's how the Rebbe knew this person. He said, we have these two blind daughters, and my wife is pregnant. And the doctors say that probably the third child will be blind. You don't want to bring a blind person into the world. So, they're advising her to have an abortion. And my wife really doesn't want to have an abortion. She wants to have more children, give it a chance, but on the other hand, she doesn't want to have another blind child. So he said, listen, I'm going home. We'll figure this thing out. And he said, first of all, being blind is, certainly that's not the best way to be, but it's not the end of the world. There's some, the girls are beautiful. Look at them. And I'm sure that, being alive is better than not being alive, And they says, yeah, we know, we love them very much, but what can we do? He says, listen, let's figure this out. I'm going to go home. My parents live in such and such a place. They're probably worrying about me. And I'm going to go home. And when the Passover when Passover ends, as we'll figure it out, right? Maybe he invited them to some place. I don't know what was the continuation for those 2 days of Passover. That wasn't the point. Anyway, he came back in the middle intermediate days, and they arranged a proper school for the girls, and they arranged. His wife said that she had the blessing of the Rebbe. She wouldn't, and they kept in contact. And after that, she had children. I think she had more children, and all of them were normal. They called all C. And the girls that were blind, also one came to be a doctor, a lawyer, whatever it is. They achieved wonderful things in life. But the point of the matter is that the Rebbe sent him purposely to this place where they had lost hope, and they had lost connection, and they had lost all desire to be anything Jewish. And suddenly he revealed to them that being Jewish was not just a good thing, it was the best thing. And that it makes the best out of every situation. And soon God will open up all of our eyes, and give birth to all the Jewish people together with a happy and a healthy and a holy, blessed world with the Rebbe, Melech HaMashiach. Now, have a good day with Mashiach. See you all tomorrow. Thank you all for coming.
Chai Melech.
Chai Melech.
Amen.
Today is the day when the Rebbe Rashab said, that you must say Yechia Melech, that's one of the things that are going to bring Mashiach, is if you say, long live the king. Long live the king.
Oh, well. Okay, I was introduced today.
This was the day that the Rebbe announced it. The Rebbe announced it, that one of the things, I'm not the Rebbe Rashab, the Rebbe announced it on this date in his Farbringen, that you want to bring Mashiach, you have to bring Mashiach, we have to do everything we can to bring Mashiach, and one of the things that's going to bring Mashiach is to say, long live the king. And everyone understood that the Rebbe was talking about himself, that he would have a good day, God willing. We'll talk
for sure
tomorrow, right? That's for sure. And we just have to do everything we can in a pleasant and a happy way to make it happen. See you all tomorrow.